the last class of a 6-week program. And so it was a free program to the public. We are not going to stop, providing classes because we think that this is a much needed program. So as we move forward toward the next year, that we hope that you will definitely get something out of what we are trying to offer you. My name is Albert Burks. I am the CEO of Executive Business Alliance Chicago here in Illinois. But this is a nationwide business. This is streamed live across the nation. We are in the Central Time Zone, so if you get an opportunity, call your families and friends. This is a grassroots effort from A to Z, showing you how to start your small home-based or brick-and-mortar business. And we also provide coaching and consultation to existing businesses. So today we're going to do a review. We're going to have some fun today, guys. I'm just telling you, I am so excited. Every time I actually provide one of these classes to the general public, I know for a fact some people's lives are being changed. And so what we need to understand is that there's not too many people is going to show you what I am teaching you. The staff at EBAC, we are excited. This is a preparation, and we go through things. We actually go through things when we are actually helping people to build their business. So today we're going to review. So if you missed the last 5 weeks, we're going to hit on subject matters that is going to help you. Okay, so today we're going to start off with common business structures. We're getting ready to talk about corporations, LLCs. If you know people that want to own a non-for-profit company, you need to call them up on the telephone. I will be getting into the nitty-gritty of this. So let's get started. We're going to be talking about sole proprietorships, corporations, S corporation, non-for-profit corporation. What is a qualifying foreign corporation? Limited liability company. This is a new phenomenon that has been hidden all across the country. And so we're going to talk about limited liability, some of the advantages and disadvantages of having one. A limited liability partnership. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of those. Now, the most simple way to be in business is through a sole proprietorship. Normally you call it an assumed business. This is a one-person business opportunity. One person owns the business. The only cost of filing for a license, a permit, or other regulatory requirement is when you actually go to your city or your county and you register with the city and the county. Okay, and many times when you register, they would have you to do what? To put a publication, okay, in a document, a newspaper, or sometimes you can go to the law bulletin, but they want you to publicize that at least 3 weeks. Check with your state, your municipalities, and find out what is the requirement. You enjoyed a pass-through taxation of your income. A pass-through. What that means, because you're going to hear this word even when we talk about the limited liability company. Pass-through means that the company do not pay the taxes. It is passed through to you, and you file your taxes on your 1040, federal taxes and state taxes and so on. As a sole proprietor, there are no employees to chip in part of your Social Security and Medicare taxes. I want to talk about that for a second, because many times, as you get older and you are eligible for Medicare, and you wonder why you're not eligible for Part A of Medicare. Medicare says that you work on a job for 10 years and you acquire 40 credit hours, right? As a business owner, you can still pay your FICA towards your Medicare. So when you have a business, Don't just take the money and go out and buy a new car. Take some of the money and pay taxes towards your retirement, because I guarantee that you will need it. You know, I am an insurance advisor, certified insurance advisor, and I specialize in the Medicare, and many times people come to me and they say they work for maybe a government agency, but they have no Part A, and the federal government will make you pay $500 a month towards your Medicare Part A. As a sole proprietor, you can have that money taken out of your profit, and you will be still providing money for your retirement so you can get those credits. So think about that, okay? Don't just go out and spend the money. Put some money away, because as you get older, then you're going to need some hospitalization, because hospitalization is high, but that Medicare will work for you. So pay toward that. How does this structure affect your spouse? If one spouse, now listen at this, if one spouse managed a business and the other help out as an employee or volunteer worker, not contribute to running the business, the managing spouse can claim ownership and treat the business as a sole proprietor. So if the husband or wife is not acting as a business owner, but they volunteer their time, they're working for you, okay, you still can treat your business, your sole proprietorship, as a single sole proprietorship. Liabilities. This is very, very important. This could be a risky structure because 100% of the company liability falls on you. All the debts, the legal claim, become the responsibilities of the owner. And especially if you own a home, you're jeopardizing that home or your own personal property, land, and so on. As a sole proprietor, it is a risky situation. If the business failed to pay suppliers, banks, a bill from other businesses, the owner is personally liable for the unpaid debts. Okay, this is why it's so important that we help you to protect your business structure. And so this is why we talk about limited liability. We talk about corporations and so on, to help you so you don't assume the risk and lose everything that you work for in your lifetime. The only members of the business are a husband or wife who filed a joint 1040 tax return. Both spouses material participate in the trade of the business. If you are participating as a spouse and you're working together, okay, then you're not acting, it can be classed as a sole proprietorship, okay? Both spouses elected not to be created as a partnership. Most of the time when you got two people, they say you are a partnership, okay? So it's how you structure that business that is so important. Let's talk about corporations real quick, okay? How to form a corporation. A corporation, some people say C corporation. Some people say Inc., I-N-C-E. Some people say incorporated, and so on. Makes no difference. It's ABC Incorporated, ABC Inc., ABC Corporation. No matter how you use the term corporation, it is a person. It is different from you. It is treated different from you. How do you file your corporation? You go to your Secretary of State. So if you're across the country, no matter what state that you live in, you must file for your corporation status with the Secretary of State of that state that you are in. Now, we talk about sole proprietor. Remember we said go to the city or municipality. But when you're dealing with corporations, you will be going to your Secretary of State. A corporation is just another name for a regular for-profit corporation taxed under normal corporate income tax rules. There are different rules and regulation. In Illinois, the 1986 Incorporation of the Corporation Act, okay, governs corporations. A S corporation, you must first file with the Secretary of State as a corporation, and you petition the Internal Revenue Service of the state that you live in for what is called a subchapter S or S status. What that means is this: you are a corporation, but you are telling your vendors and so on, and you're telling the Internal Revenue Service, listen, I want to have the protection of a corporation separate from my personal assets, but I want the money to pass through, what we talk about pass through, to me so I can pay it on my 1040. That's the reason that people file for an S corporation, so they can have the protection like a corporation, but they want to control the money. And they are saying to the Internal Revenue Service, let me pay the taxes instead of the corporation paying the taxes. Okay? You can call in if you want to and type in, and we do have somebody at Monington. So if there is a question out there, I want to make sure that you get the answer. Okay? The corporation is the most common, the C corporation. They are created and regulated by state law called privileges, and falls up under the Corporation Act of 1986 in Illinois. You can do your research and find out the history of the Corporation Act in your state. You can do that on your own. Major factors regarding corporation is how federal and state laws view it. It is a legal person. A corporation is a legal person. Just because you are the person to incorporate, you're the person that took your own personal money. You went to the Secretary of State. You filed all the paper. Guess what? It's separate from you. The only thing that you can do is become an officer. And when you become an officer, the corporation pays you a salary. Okay? The misconception, I'm going to file for me a corporation. I'm going to make all of this money. And guess what? I'll give you an example. And I talk about this all the time. Let's assume that your corporation made $50, and you took $1 and bought a stick of bubble gum. You know, you embezzled that corporation, you can go to jail, and you filed the corporation? And people say, what do you mean by that? Because, see, if they did an audit on your corporation and they see this $1 missing, and you said, well, I bought a piece of gum, how did it benefit the corporation? It did not. It benefit you. But let's assume that you took the $1 and bought 5 sticks of gums, 5 pieces of gum, and you had your board meeting, and you passed each person a piece of the gum. You can say, yes, the corporation bought a pack of gum, and we passed it to everyone, all the officers, in the gum to release stress. Guess what? You're okay now. So think about it. It is a legal person. It's separate from you. It can sue. It can be sued. But it protects you from your personal assets. And this is why they call it double taxation, because the corporation pays tax, it pays you a salary, you pay tax. And some people say, I don't want to, that's too much taxes. Makes no difference. Taxes to me is taxes, no matter who pays it. Okay? Duties and responsibility of a corporation. It issues stock. A lot of time people file for a corporation and they never issue stock. You own the corporate. That stock shows your ownership. Just because you file with the Secretary of State does not mean you own the corporation. And especially if you're going to be talking about minority certification, you have to issue stock to yourself. You are a one-person corporation. You must issue yourself stocks. And here in Illinois, I contacted them and I asked them, I said, how many shares can a person issue? They said, we don't care. So normal, when I'm filing papers for a client, I put down 100,000 shares. And then guess what? It will ask you how many shares will be issued. That person that incorporated, I put down 51,000 shares. Why? It just gave you 51% ownership. So now you have met the federal government set aside as a owner of a small business. And especially if you're looking for minority for certification, it says 51% must be owned by who? A minority. I don't care if you did 500 shares. You issued 251 shares to yourself. You got 51% ownership. And then when you do your bylaws will specify when you are voting on corporate business, each person get one vote according to what? The number of shares. That means that no one can outvote you if you got 51%. You got the final say in your business. Remember, that is so important. Remember that. Now, issuing of shares, the types of shares. Most state would ask you, list the class and the type of shares. So we list them down as common, COMMON, Class A. You can say Class B, but I normally put common, Class A, none, N-O-N, par, P-A-R, non-par value. That means those shares has no value because when you put dollar amount on your shares, you got to register with the security exchange. Okay? And you don't have $250 million laying around, right? So you issue common, Class A, non-par value, and you put this behind it, voting. These are the shares that can vote for corporations' activities. You can also put common Class B. Give those to your children. And down at the bottom of the registration paper, it's going to say list restrictions. If you issue shares, this is going to be so important to everyone. If you issue yourself shares for your corporation, under restriction, please put this: the first rights of refusal. Why did you put the first rights of refusal? Well, you got your daughter you love so dearly, and she brought Ray Ray home. And Ray Ray is no good. And you own this big corporation. And Ray Ray says, if you give me a divorce, I want to own part of your business. Because he's going to sue her for everything, right? But if you say, and if your daughter has shares, she can say, I'm going to sell the shares back to the corporation. They have the first right to refuse. If they say they don't want to buy, then you have to deal with what you got to deal with. But they have the first right to buy those shares back. What Ray Ray gonna say? Man, she's real smart. No, Executive Business Alliance is real smart. EBAC, we rock. Okay? Elected officers. Elected officers. When you have people that is involved in your business, the presidents, the vice presidents, all of the officers, okay? Your bylaws is so important. When we get into the bylaws, it's going to stipulate who are elected officials of your business and the terms that they will be holding that title before contractual rights applies. Say, for example, the president has a term of 5 years. Then they have to be redefined. Okay, the vice president maybe 4 years. So there's a lot of things that you actually put into your bylaws as in regards to elected official. You must hold a regular meeting of the directors and the shareholders, especially when you are applying for minority certification. It's going to ask you for a copy of your minutes and your first annual meetings. Even if you are a one-person corporation, you still have to give them what they want, and they say you got to have a meeting. Normally I tell people, I said, if you're going to start a corporation, your board of directors, your mom and your father can be a board of directors. And you want to sit down with them and you want to talk, Mom, I got this business. Dad, I got this business. And so-and-so, and I just need to talk to you guys. You are the secretary, you are the vice president, you are the treasurer. We need to talk about, the process of making this business expand or to grow. You can talk to them. You get advice from your mom and dad anyway, right? If those are the people that you trust, they can be on your board of directors. So you can have your meeting and discuss the most simple thing. The board of directors elected to have the bank account at whatever bank, and it has been motioned and approved. Bam, you write that in your minutes. Okay? The purpose. The transaction of any or all lawful purposes for which the corporation may be incorporated under the Illinois Business Corporation Act. It's going to ask you for the purpose. They have this on the paper. Now you can say the transact of any or all lawful purposes for which the corporation may be incorporated under the state, whatever state that you are. Then you can put catering service. You can add that to it because you want to be specific when you file your papers. They said this is a catering service. It does not stop you when you got a corporation. It's not going to stop you from, doing other business under your corporation. The corporation, long as it's lawful, you can transact what? Any and all lawful purposes. Okay? You're just going to be specific. A carpentry. Auto repair service. Catering service. The incorporator must be a natural person age 18 or older. Just hold it. Now, here at Executive Business Alliance, we say that we will definitely help you if you're 9 years of age and older. And how do we do that? Mother and fathers or legal guardians can help you file for your business. They are the 18 and over. And the bylaws allow them to put you as the president. They are the chairman and the CEO. They are the incorporated. There's so many children out here that got ideals. They are doing things. They want to do things, especially for non-for-profit. Selling lemonade. Don't you understand the reason how important? I don't care what the age is, because guess what? You drank the lemonade and it made you sick. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to come after you, mother and father, because you allow your child to have a business. But if that child got a business and they selling lemonade and it's a corporation, then it's a different story. Okay. A registered agent. What is a registered agent? You're going to see that on the paper. The registered agent is anyone who receives the subpoenas and legal documents for you. You rented a company, you rented a store, and all of a sudden you decide to move from that location. The Secretary of State don't know that you moved. They're going to send a document, the annual reports and everything else. The people are going to serve notices to that address. The primary objective of a registered agent is so that that person can receive information and they know where to find you. The state is not going to go and do search. They just going to, and you don't know that you're supposed to have filed for an annual report, and guess what? If you don't pay, and you don't file, your corporation is going to be what? Dissolved. So, the registered agent address may also be where the state will send the paperwork for yearly renewals. It can be an individual or it can be a company. I want to say this. A lot of people go different states. Like, for example, they say, well, it's cheaper in Delaware. So they get a company in Delaware, and they act as the registered agent. So they're sending that information to Delaware, and that person has to call like a third party to you to say to you, you got some papers. You could be your own registered agent, and people are paying money for those companies to do that. So you can place yourself as the registered agent. I always do, because I want this information to me firsthand. Okay. The fees, they varies in the state in which you live. Okay. In Illinois, excuse me, to file a corporation, article of incorporation, it's a $150 filing fee and a $25 franchise fee. And if you want to expedite that and get it back as quick as possible, it's an additional $100. And you will pay for using your credit card. That's $6.25 processing fee. So it equals to about $281.25 to file in the state of Illinois. Let's go back to the Delaware. The person says, I don't want to file in Illinois. That's too high. And let's assume, and I'm not saying it's cheaper, that you went to a state like Delaware and you filed, and let's just assume it was $50. I'm just throwing up a price. And you say, wow, this is fantastic. I only paid $50. What you pay, what, $200 in Illinois? And you live in Illinois. Guess what? You come back to Illinois, Illinois is going to say, you run a business? Are you registered in this state? Because guess what? You live in the state, so they really have jurisdiction over you, right? In order for you to run your business in Illinois, you got to have the authority. And guess how much the authority costs? $500. So now you done went out and paid the $50 because you thought you're going to get it cheaper than another state. Now you got to come back and pay another $500. Bad business right off the bat, right? So make sure that you know the amount, and if there is any provision that the state would charge you for operating a business in that state. There's always a catch to it. You're not going to outsmart them. Okay? And also, you hear me talk about that annual report, right? In Illinois, to do an annual report, let's assume that it was $100. And I had a client that she decided to go to this other state, and the other state law says you would pay your annual report, your annual filing fee, based on the number of shares issued. The lawyer in that state issued her 1 million shares. And the law says that you have to pay $10 per share. She owned 51,000 shares times $10. They billed her for $51,000. She said, oh my God, what am I going to do? I said, well, I don't know what you're going to do, but first thing in the morning, I'm dissolving this corporation and file in Illinois, you know, because she lived here. So you got to understand, you need to know the laws of the state that you're filing the corporation. Payments can be by MasterCard, Discover, and so on that you can pay, you can use. We talked about the common stocks. You know, the type of filing, they only have one class of stock. The number of shares of common stock to be authorized must be set forth along with the number of shares common stock proposed to be issued. We talk about that. They're going to ask you, how many shares do you want to issue? That you have and you want to issue. And you have to put that down. How many shares are you going to issue? Now, when you do minority certification, and let's assume that you issue 51,000 shares, guess what? They're going to turn around and say, okay, what about them other 49,000 shares? You have to put an affidavit in to say the company still own those shares. They are not issued, none issued. That's all they want to know, what happened to the 49,000 shares. There was none issued and it's still owned by the corporation. The monetary consideration, you're going to see that on the form. Monetary consideration, the consideration that you paid to own this corporation. Take in the fact that anytime you start up a company, keep all your receipt. They adds up. You paid the $281, that's $281, right? You bought some ink pens, some papers, a desk, chair. That's your consideration. Well, I started this business with $1,000, and you're right at $1,000. I had a trucking company, and the consideration to start that business was like $10,000, so they wrote $10,000. And guess what? Guess how much the annual report was? It was only $100 when they had to file. And they owned $200-some thousand trucks. But he started off with what? $7,000. Because they got factors. They got factors that you figured out and they do the multiplication and boom, 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 25 cents. The minimum can be $100 or $10 or whatever the case. So don't let that get you afraid. Stock certificates. When you start a corporation, you issue yourself certificates. They are beautiful. And here they are specified. The number of shares that you own. Stock number 1. The number of shares issued to you in your name for the consideration of $1,000. You put those stock certificates, that's good. You put those stock certificates in your, and you file them away. That's a beautiful thing right there. These are legal documents. The corporation issue you stock. And they'll say common class A, non-par value voting shares. And that's 51,000. That means you got 51,000. You now can prove that you have an article in corporation and you own 51%. Right? Buy you an embosser. Man, right there you get that certificate, do that print, it look good. It's a good looking document. Okay. Doesn't cost that much. Take this number down, 866-754-4460. That's 866-754-4460. Might be still in business. I ordered certificates from them. Okay? An S corporation. File using the same form, the BCA 210 form. Now we're going to stop right here. We're going to come back. And when we go off I want you to go grab some water, get on the telephone, call somebody, and tell them that they're talking about creating companies. They're going to the nitty-gritty of teaching you how to start your company, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And wait till you get into this non-for-profit. You're going to love it. Okay? And while we are offline, we will be talking to and interviewing people, and we actually come back online. Okay? So we got a lot of stuff to do. So as we go down, we just giving you a break. I know this is a lot of information. And I'm going to bring up our Chief Alliance Officer. She's going to talk to some people. We are going to, we have fun in between. So Miss Cheryl Garrett, this is our Chief Alliance Officer. She is the person that make all of this stuff happen. I'm just the instructor. I just got a title. I don't even know what it stands for. Okay? So I guess we are off now for a few minutes. Okay.